Hello, everyone. I hope all is well. I want to say thanks for joining the session again. If you have not yet subscribed, please click on that subscribe button. I tend to want to bring you information that's relevant to the context, that makes connection to history or culture, and just some general thoughts at this point in time. And I want to talk about maintaining focus and well-being, a guide for Jamaicans abroad in the United States. I especially am focusing on the United States because there are so many things happening at this point in time. Now, I want to start off because a lot of people have indicated, you know what? I want to travel. You go to Jamaica and you come back, people still want to travel to the United States, but many do not understand the context of the United States. As a result, the destined to go to the United States sometimes leads to a pathway of destruction, and that's the reality. Many will succeed while others will have it hard. I remember meeting one man in Florida once when I landed here, and he said to me, Florida will eat you alive. If I weren't careful, it might have happened. But I want to focus on the start really, and I want to bring some ideas to you. But what brings thought to my mind at this point in time is the traveling. While you're young, you can travel, and I always ask people, are you ready for the cultural shift? It is indeed a cultural shift. And what you realize that some people, if they're younger, they're able to adapt to the movement. Others don't. There are so many people who have left Jamaica at one stage in their lives, in their 50s and maybe 60s and 70s and sometimes 80s, that have not really recovered or did not last long. And why do I say that? I stopped at a friend the other day in Jamaica. We're having a wonderful time talking about things that were exciting. And he said to me, you know what? Mr. C went abroad and didn't last long. He went over there and they practically brought him over there to die. He lost his friends. He would go to the bar in the evening, have a drink, play dominoes, and just have fun. But in the United States, he was at home. He didn't have that sort of social connections. And remember, I did do a video on the need to have social friends and connections because guess what? It makes you live longer. Not having that connection leads to another thing, isolation, depression, loneliness, and everything. So if you're thinking about carrying your relatives in their late 70s, 80s, or maybe early 60s, be careful because you need to ensure that they have engagement. Yes, you want mommy and daddy to be close to you, but remember, how will they maintain their friendship? And that's important. How will you ensure that they're engaged? How will you get them to socialize with others? And those are critical points that you need to consider. So I want to talk about, the setting the stage for focusing us on when we're living abroad, because that's important. I'm living abroad and I've had to make a lot of adjustments. The Jamaican culture in the United States represents a vibrant and significant part of the American culture. With over 1 million people of Jamaican descent residing in the United States as of 2020, these individuals make substantial contribution to various sectors. However, the experience living abroad is particularly one that involves the movement as it relates to social, political, and navigating these aspects. And of course, there are many stressors that come with being an immigrant. I have learned personally in my workspace that there are things I can do, and to be honest, while it might be an inclusive setting, I know the limitations. That the thought of being an immigrant is very real. However, the experience of living abroad particularly is one that really allows you to understand the complexities of it all. You have to navigate a society, and of course, that comes with new anxiety. There are immigration policies and, of course, socioeconomic pressures. So in this talk, I want to talk about the actionable strategies for Jamaican immigrants in the United States to maintain their focus, well-being, and of course, emphasize the critical role your mental health plays in making sure you're successful. And of course, the importance of cultural connection and community support in fostering a thriving life of being abroad. But as I state this, do not throw no stone behind you because you want to come back to your homeland at some point in time. Remember, you don't throw stones. You try to build your little island. And I say build because I'm a person who practices what I preach. If you want to talk to me more about that, fine. But let us look at the challenges faced by Jamaican immigrants in the United States. And of course, the common problems that we have impacting our well-being as well as our focus. Now you go to a country, and upon arriving in the United States, first thing that you realize is a contrast between, of course, your home country and United States. The experience of entering a society with powerful white majority. And of course, you're not used to that. There's overt color prejudice and discrimination that you are shocked. I remember going to a park one day and I entered the park. And when I entered the park, I heard someone saying the N word. I looked around. I'm saying to myself, is this person talking about me? So I looked and made sure my family was all right. And eventually I went back. The car had driven out. But hearing the N word and seeing how white individuals addressed me was shocking, but not one that I did not anticipate. After all, remember, United States in the 1950s and before had a severe issue with race, and they still do. Hence, we have policies now that are trying to eradicate certain things, which, you know what, will lead to harder times as it relates to black and brown people in the United States. We have to brace for that. Now, you come under further pressure because you need to assimilate. You have to assimilate yourself, and you have to ensure that you understand your own self-identity, and you must make sure that you identify yourself as a Jamaican. I have never identified myself in the context of an American. Even with an American passport, I still classify myself as a Jamaican. I was born there. You have to make sure that you impose something that make you feel good about yourself, but not limit yourself at the same time, because if you do, it might create problems in navigating the world. So you have to understand that navigating the complexities of United States is important, especially the United States immigration system. That is another hurdle, particularly for those Jamaicans who are undocumented. They will face immense challenges related to adjustment, finding and maintaining employment, and of course, come under constant threat of exploitation. I've heard so many stories about green card holders, some things they have had to do to ensure they got status. And yes, it takes away the dignity, and it takes sometimes to ensure that you go over these hurdles to ensure that you can really live with yourself afterwards. But notwithstanding, you are here for a better life, some of you, and I know that you have to have done things to ensure that you're safe and your generation to come are okay. You made that trip because of opportunity. The feeling of being compelled to abandon one's culture is very evident. The feeling of being compelled to abandon one's cultural heritage to achieve minimal success in the United States is sometimes one of the things that affects many individuals. It's like cultural genocide. In order to achieve, I must be like an American. Truly American, that is born here, that has an accent, that twangs, and I'm not going to do it. Under my dead body, I'm not going to do it. I like my accent. I've always had that. I spent 10 years in United Kingdom, and I did not have an accent. People ask me why. Notwithstanding, I've seen some people who have spent a day. They came back with an accent. They learn how to assimilate immediately. I'm not that sort of person. This assimilation to American culture can have some psychological impact, leading to a feeling of loss, alienation, and the weakening of one's self-identity, of course. And it can affect your well-being, your mental health. You don't know who you are. But as I always say to people when I present sometimes, I'm a Jamaican, one love, keep cool. Yes, bless up. Those things always come. And of course, that's just being me. But when we look at the socioeconomic stressors, it talks about the social and the money part of it, Beyond acculturation, Jamaican immigrants may encounter various socioeconomic stressors, especially undocumented individuals. They are faced with difficult circumstances to ensure stable employment. And as I stated before, they are sometimes exploited. Sometimes I've heard about cases where individuals go to work for someone, and because the person knows that the person is illegal, they tend to not want to pay them after the work is completed. No, you don't do that with a Jamaican. You might can escape the one that has no papers because he doesn't want to get in trouble, but don't do that in Jamaica. That's a warning. When Jamaicans come to the United States, highly trained and skilled, they lead Jamaica into a brain drain But once they reach United States, they're classified or categorized as if they didn't have the skills. That's a bad thing, and that is an exploitation of America too. While Jamaican immigrants often seek better opportunities in the United States, they may grapple with, of course, implications of their departure from their homeland, potentially experiencing a feeling of guilt. Why did I leave my country to come here when I could have done so much back home? Yes, I still feel that I have work to do in Jamaica, and I just hope the opportunity arrives. That's me personally. However, let me say there are personal worries and struggles that sometimes happen as it relates to immigrants, right? We've heard about the phenomenon barrel children, where parents migrate and leave their children in the care of relatives, highlighting the significant social cost of immigration driven by, of course, the need for economic viability. The emotional toll on both parents in the United States and their children left behind can be substantial, and we have seen studies of that in Jamaica. And of course, it can impact the well-being of the child and, of course, the person who has gone overseas. So therefore, we have to understand that the children sometimes go through a lot in Jamaica if they are left behind. And by the time they are reunited with their parents, sometimes there's no connection because the bonding might not have taken place. So we have to understand that these things can affect our emotions. They can affect our mental health. And of course, we must consider this in our society. Now, there are things that I've considered many times, and there's something that they call microaggression. I'm not going to go into that, but I want to tell you that every day you go through certain situations in your life and you're stressed by it, it can affect your whole physical well-being. And we have to look at our own mental health and well-being as we navigate the space of living abroad. The process of really adapting to a new culture often triggers, of course, certain stressors, which can manifest itself in anxiety and depression. Sometimes people are away, they just feel like just locking themselves in. And sometimes to navigate, they'll call people every single day just to have a conversation. So when you see a friend from foreign calling you, don't feel any way. Stop, man. Give them a call. Give them a chat. So therefore, it's important. Within the Jamaican community, there are many stigmas associated with mental health, potentially discouraging individuals from seeking professional help, with some studies indicating that Black Caribbean men have a higher risk of certain disorders compared to African American men, while Caribbean women may have lower odds for some disorders. Let me say this. Your mental health can come under strain in the United States. Imagine you are a trained professional. You come to the United States and you say to yourself, you want to start your teaching job or whatever profession you are. You could be a nurse. You have to go through their system. And if you had 20 years of experience, they want to start you from zero. Yes, the baseline. That's how they operate here. I remember coming to the United States my first time and had a master's in special education needs and inclusion. Came here and I went somewhere and I was talking to someone and I said, they seem to say I have no qualifications. And this Black woman called me over and said, you need to stop walking with your portfolio of qualifications. They're feeling intimidated. From that day, I decided not to do that. So what I'm saying is, you come, it can be depressing. Despite certain things, you have to start over. And it takes time. I say it takes time, and you have to understand it takes time. So when we look at the barriers of the high cost of living in the United States, that's a barrier too. You know, you have sometimes entered the country and you have barriers for living. Sometimes you have no insurance. There's high cost. It might be difficulty understanding the language. And of course, you might have a need to contact friends and relatives and religious leaders for help, because that's important. But let me say that the lack of recognition of certain things that we're going through can limit ourselves. So we need to ensure that we have a support system. That support system is necessary to navigate the space in the United States. Now, I hope you're following, because this is important, and I want you to share with others, because many think that the road to foreign is an easy one. It's not easy. Now, when we look at certain things, there's so much happening in the United States. I could go on and on and on. Now, let us look at the political events and social landscape that's happening now. The current social and economic landscape of United States is significantly impacting individuals. Some people now refuse to listen to the news and so forth. And just remember, when we look at certain things, when someone discriminates against you, it impacts you. And sometimes even the politicians, so we're talking politics, can also impact you in such a way that you feel that you're not worthy to be in this country. I came out of a car the other day and someone from the Caribbean said to me, why do I live in a country that doesn't want me to be here? And I was taken aback. I was taken aback for some time. And if you ask me, Ruhan, have you experienced discrimination or racism in the United States? My answer would be yes. I would not hesitate. If you ask me where, I would not answer. Because I think it's important to understand that racism is not just an event. It's a system that's created to ensure that some people benefit over the other. It's a systematic element that was created from the structure of slavery and resides now. So one of the things that is, many immigrants that enter this situation or this place do not have access to information. And they do not understand how to navigate the road ahead, and that creates a stress for them too. I want to say that we have to look around and take things in stride, and we have to decide when we need help, because that's important. We have to develop our inner strength to ensure that we are okay, and practice mindfulness. Mindfulness practices offer valuable tools for Jamaican immigrants to stay grounded and manage stress. These techniques involve focusing on the present moment and observing thoughts and feelings without judgment. This can particularly be helpful in managing anxiety, because I know many of my friends now are very anxious in the United States. Someone said to me, I was going to Jamaica recently, and someone said to me, are you going to Jamaica? I said, yes. The first thing she asked me, do you have your citizenship? I said, yes. But I'm so confident that if I were to go to Jamaica and they stopped me at some point and said, Rohan, you can't come back in. I remember my country prime minister and leaders saying, we welcome you back. So let us always remember the need to stay connected and have echoes of our home. Maintaining a connection to Jamaica's culture and history is vital for our own well-being. The connection serves as a powerful protector against, of course, the stressors in the United States. And it provides a sense of belonging, continuity as it relates to others, and of course, strengthen your family bonds. There are numerous ways that Jamaican immigrants can stay connected to their roots, participating in Jamaican cultural events, festivals, and so forth. Enjoying Jamaica. And let me tell you this one, juicy beef patty, it's here in Orlando now. So I can have my patties. Yes, yesterday I stopped, bought some patties. So when I take a bite in my patty, I feel good. So when we build that community, we are practically enjoying our roots and listening to Jamaican music like ska, reggae, and of course calypso put you in the groove and move. Connecting to Jamaicans in the local area is also important to build a sense of community. Families must teach your children about Jamaica's history, language, tradition. Remember, at some point, these children might need to return to their homeland. Yes. And of course, be a part of Jamaica. Yes, that's so important. Be a part of communities. There are so many groups and community areas that you can be a part of. I'm going to post some of these in the description of this video so you can have that. And of course, get expert guidance. If you need help, seek a psychologist and counselor. And of course, make sure they have some connection to Jamaica. Yeah, they can't counsel me if they're not from Jamaica or connecting with the Caribbean. It's understood that you must have that aligned. We must offer these things to people. But there are so many things that we have to consider in building a framework that makes sure that you have realistic goals. It doesn't make sense working in the United States and you don't have your goals set up. Personally, for me, I work here. I love this country. I cannot hate the country because that's given me so much as it relates to employment and, of course, a secure place. Notwithstanding, I always love my country, Jamaica. So I build a framework that gives me realistic goals and, of course, sets me apart on what I need to do. So as we go through, we have to build SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable goals in real time. And it must be time connected. It must be also relevant. And as we move forward, we have to think about, your finance, your well-being, and everything in order to do that. And set 5-year goal plans, right? I do set my 5-year goals and I have achieved so many. If you want to know more, just subscribe. You always know more from me as I go through. You must encourage yourself and others. You must empower yourself and others to thrive in the United States. And when you thrive in the United States, of course, Jamaica will thrive. So as a Jamaican immigrant in the United States, you face many challenges encompassing your cultural aspect, socioeconomic pressures, all amplified by, of course, the social and political climate. We know what's happening. I'm not going to say it here. However, we must consider our inner strength and work through these stressors to ensure mindfulness techniques. Actively engaging in rich culture. I went back to Jamaica, and by the way, going back to Jamaica, don't wait for 10 years to go back to Jamaica. Make sure you're going there frequently. Frequently means, for many, once a year. For me, frequently means at least 3-4 times for the year. And just remember, Jamaica can be your home. There are many things that you can look for. Jamaica is getting safer. I want to encourage you as you make your journey around the world, wherever you are, don't forget Jamaica. What I saw down there, magnificent buildings being put up. People are enjoying the land. People are coming back from the States. People are retiring from the United States that are not from Jamaica, and they're enjoying the wonderful sand, the beaches that we have. What better place to relax than on this beach? Just take it easy. But remember, when we look at it, our journey must be well focused, well maintained. And remember, consider all these factors that I've shared with you. You must have fun in the sun because you've worked so hard in the cold or in another part of America. That's all for now. Please remember to subscribe.